The following is a non-profit fan-created review. All music, footage, and images are properties of their respective owners and are subject to fair use under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. We claim no ownership of anything save the original material. Please support the official products.
Greetings and salutations, dear viewers! Welcome to another lycanthroping episode of The Anti-Viewer! Have you ever thought that there was something about yourself that you didn't like? A trait you disapproved of and wanted to change, no matter how hard it might be? I mean, I haven't, obviously, because I'm awesome, but you all have, right? Well, the reason I ask is because today's offering has much to do with self-evaluation and betterment, particularly in regards to other people. Oh, and there are demons in it too. This is Inu X Boku Secret Service! This series first began as a manga written by Koko, just go with it, Fujiwara, and published by Square Enix in its monthly Gangan Joker imprint. The manga was published in 2009 and continues to this day with a current total of 6 volumes. Of note is that this manga is split into 2 parts, the first of which was partially adapted into the anime we are looking at presently. Said anime began airing on January 12th of this year and finished on March 29th for a total of 12 episodes. Production was handled by the oddly named David Productions, I guess they thought it sounded cool, whom you may recognize as the studio behind the Dogs OVAs and the Book of Bantora. Inu X Boku Secret Service is one of those series I was originally ambivalent about watching. I really only picked it up because the premise sounded vaguely intriguing, and hey, I try to give every new anime that comes out a shot unless it's very obviously shit. Hey! Don't look at me like that! I watched 2 whole minutes of that before giving up! That should tell you something! Anyway, the premise of Inu X Boku is that the daughter of a plutocratic family moves into a condominium in an effort to live independently and is attached an agent from the condo's secret service. The twist is that everyone living there is a hybrid descendant of Japanese yokai! Japan is weird. But does this outlandish premise deliver a satisfying series? Well, hold on to your incredibly deep pockets, people, because we're about to find out! This is the review of Inu X Boku Secret Service! The main character of this anime is one Ririchio Shiraki, the eldest daughter of a wealthy Japanese family and the newest tenant of the condominium, Maison de Ayakashi. The first thing you will notice about Ririchio is her sharp tongue and the way she seemingly talks down to just about anyone she meets.
つまり嫉妬か。こういうのは慣れている。いくらでもどうぞ。
ありがとうございます。
おめでたい解釈だな。僕はただパートナーとして君が万全であるようにと考えているだけだ。気安く話しかけるなと言ったことをお忘れか。おはよう。
You may have guessed that I find her behavior to be absolutely goddamned adorable! I think it's a mixture of her appearance and her voice actress Rina Hidaka, but whenever Ririchio acts haughty, it just comes off as delightfully cute! But another reason I am unconvinced of her show of arrogance is because it is not genuine. You see, Ririchio was often ostracized as a child for her wealth, and as a result she has trouble communicating with others honestly, retreating behind the Ojo-sama facade that was forced upon her. The real Ririchio is a thoughtful, intelligent, and highly lonely girl who constantly worries about hurting those around her with her biting retorts. In fact, one of the main reasons she moved into the condo is because she wants to better her people skills by living outside her exceedingly stuffy and traditional homestead. Ririchio is an effective protagonist because you see her struggling with both her place in society and her personality quirks, and are made to emphasize with her earnest desire to improve them. She's a genuinely good person who's working to overcome her complexes, and that's something we can all appreciate. Oh, and there's this thing where she can transform into her true half-oni form and kick ass and stuff, but you don't really care about that. Assisting our heroine in all things is her Secret Service agent, Soshi Miketsukami, whose name is needlessly complicated and whom I will be referring to as Mike for the rest of this review. Mike is a half-kitsune descendant of a 9-tailed fox, but enough about that! His most prominent traits are his impeccable manners, unfailing politeness, and all-around gentle pleasantness to everyone around him. Mike has been noted as being a bit distant, and this is true, since he never drops the professionalism, except under one very specific...
リリチオ様、ここにいらしたのですね。おはようございます。
おはようございます。
昨夜は丁寧なメールをありがとうございました。感動いたしました。
Well, we all saw that one coming. Yes, Mike is in fact Riri Chio's #1 fawning fox-tailed fanboy, being utterly devoted to his mistress in all things, and protecting her with his own life.
自分で席まで運び、天津さえご自分でコップに水を継がれたのですね。僕はもう不要ということですか。
どこまでしたいんだ。
すべてお目覚めの瞬間から。
君、鬱陶しさに拍車がかかってないか。
そんな。
Just like a stalker. I'd go into why Mike is so gaga for Riri Chio, but that'd be spoilers. Suffice it to say that he considered her to be his savior. What works best for Mike's otherwise fairly bland character is of course his relentless fanboyism, made even more effective by his seiyuu, Yuichi Nakamura. Yes, him. Him too. Sure, why not? Nakamura is a powerhouse seiyuu, who puts the weight of his emotions behind every line, and seeing him do just that when his character is behaving like an exuberant puppy with its owner, well, that's just hilarious. The supporting cast is, as expected of a light-hearted comedy romance, a motley assortment of weirdos who nevertheless make for interesting neighbors in the condo for Riri Chio to interact with. First, we have Riri Chio's childhood friend and big brother figure, Rensho Sorinozuka. This anime thrives on making me almost bite my tongue. Rensho is a laid-back, lazy kind of guy who doesn't seem fazed by the insanity that happens around him.
Oh, what? I can turn into a floating scroll with arms? That's cool.
Rensho is Riri Chio's neighbor in room 3, and the two often interact, being rather close. Equally close to him is his Secret Service agent, Nobara Yukino Koji, a beautiful, voluptuous young woman who unfortunately has no interest in anything with a penis.
ね。
Fashionable and kind despite her rampant sexual inappropriateness, Nobara frequently bickers with the listless Rensho, but the pair ultimately get along well. The tenant of room 2 is none other than Riri Chio's fiancé, Kageru Shokin, who travels a lot and whose betrothal was arranged by their families. Kageru is a peculiar individual to say the least.
万里貴様にはアイアンメイデン貴様には荒縄
ありがとうございます。
貴様には無知だ
沖縄関係ないじゃん。
貴様らは初対面だったな。ではお近づきの印に三角木馬だ。貴様にはボールギャグ。
近寄ったらコーラス割り。
Okay, he's a lunatic with a mask and cloak. What did you expect? Despite being an eccentric narcissist who sees everything as S or M, Kageru is ultimately harmless and is content letting his fiancée do as she pleases, being uninterested in dusty old arrangements anyway, a feeling Riri Chio shares. Oh, they also used to write to one another when they were younger, but I think it's obvious why that's no longer happening.
さあ参ろうか許嫁殿。
何をする。
この私が自らめくるめく S と M の世界にお前を導いてくれよ。
そんなもの。
His Secret Service agent is Karuta Roromiya, a girl in Riri Chio's class and overall space case. Though she appears a little out of it most of the time, she is actually rather intelligent, observant, and loves her some food. Karuta is voiced by rising star seiyuu Kana Hanazawa, the voice behind Angel from Angel Beats and Black Rock Shooter, who delivers an adequately slow and sighing performance fitting to the character. Finally, in room 1 is Banri Watanuki, self-proclaimed delinquent and childhood friend of Karuta. Watanuki, no relation to this guy, is an unspoken brash sort who has the whipping boy for Kageru in their youth, and Mike's self-proclaimed rival, who resents him because he once called him cute. Can't imagine why.
俺か豆だるきだからって。
Watanuki's other thing is his strong crush on Karuta, something she apparently reciprocates. The pair often hang out with Riri Chio at school despite ancillary bickering. His Secret Service agent is Zange Natsume, who is also a childhood friend slash tormentor. Natsume is quite the cheery, screwy fellow who delights in both tricking his friends into whimsically weird games and seeing everyone get along despite his meddling. Incidentally, you'll never guess who Natsume is voiced by. Let me give you a little hint.
ジオタン昨夜ぶり。
知り合いなのか。
旧友だよね。そんな世の中でいいのか。なんで。
I have now completely ruined your ability to take Light Yagami seriously ever again. No need to thank me! Our story begins with Irichio Shirakin arriving at the Maison de Ayakashi, her new home in her quest to live independently from the crushing expectations of her household. But barely is she through the main gate when she meets with a rather strange vision.
ありがとうと言うべきか？
いいえ。そのようなもったいないお言葉は不要でございます。お会いできる日を心待ちにしておりました。リリチオ様。
泣き？
After that thoroughly non-stalker-like moment, we are shocked to learn that Ririchio is reluctant to accept Mike's services. That is until a couple of foolish mortal burglars break in and one of them makes the mistake of assaulting our heroine.
遅くなり申し訳ありません。
Well, I can honestly say I didn't see that coming. After the cast finishes going all Scooby-Doo on the two crooks, Ririchio finally caves and accepts Mike as her Secret Service agent, setting the stage for further kick-ass yokai adventures! Or perhaps just more daily life interaction. Those are the same thing, right? So the plot of Inu X Boku is one 12-episode Bildungsroman for Ririchio. Isn't that a fancy word? It's a German term in literature for a coming-of-age tale, which is what happens in this anime, as the main character develops herself through the interactions with the people around her, and gradually begins to conquer her undesirable tendencies through the support she received from Mike. Ririchio frequently muses that Mike's selfless devotion and the kindness of the others are what give her the courage to open up. I find that this character growth is both believable and entertaining, because Ririchio develops through a veritable gauntlet of silly antics, courtesy of her neighbors and, of course, her erstwhile agent. What the plot isn't, however, is a story about the struggle of half yokai people in the world. I've been dancing around this issue of the character's heritage for good reason. They are completely secondary to the slice-of-life elements of this anime, rarely serving as anything more than an excuse to have an action scene or to look cool. It's not often that the themes of an anime are fundamentally the same as the nature of its plot, but that's certainly the case for Inu X Boku. Anyone can appreciate Ririchio's desire for self-improvement and the healing of wounds imposed through both a demanding household and an uncaring society. And then there's the romantic aspect to consider. Ririchio's feelings for Foxy McFanboy evolve steadily over the course of the anime, starting with the gratitude she feels for his devotion, and ending... well, I'm sure you can all see where this whole affair will wind up, and if you can't, well then you're just stupid! The pros of Inu X Boku are its fairly strong story, enjoyable humor, and endearing characters. Ririchio's journey towards emotional maturity is well done, and the viewer feels all the more satisfied because they were able to see the steps by which she attains her longed-for goal. But no sober character study is this, because the anime maintains our interest with a healthy dose of laughs, mostly centering around the eccentric supporting cast and how our heroine reacts to them. From Mike's unrelenting sappy worship to Kagero's absurd speeches on who likes riding the wooden horse, the anime certainly provides in the mirth department. And lastly, the romance element is believable as we see the natural progression of Ririchio's feelings through her inner monologues and the way it all builds to a conclusion that I proclaim to be satisfying. But every rose has its thorns, and this anime is no different. The most obvious flaw is the whole half yokai thing, which is so unimportant as to be completely superfluous. Quite simply, you could tell the same story just as well without all the mythological stuff. In fact, I could think of several episodes where the supernatural problems could easily be replaced by mundane ones, and it would have had the same effect. It's not a good thing when the most striking element of an anime's premise is easily missed in the grand scheme of things. Also, some of the humor can fall a bit flat at times, with some gags eliciting mere mild chuckles instead of hearty laughs. Not necessarily a huge flaw, but hey, I got to give you something. Well, it seems here that we have an anime of earnest effort and not a little quality that, although it kind of farts on a potentially much more interesting fantasy story, still manages to give us an engaging slice-of-life coming-of-age romance tale. My final verdict for Inu X Boku Secret Service is a 7 out of 10, a good anime that I can recommend to most anyone who enjoys both character studies, competently executed romances, or light-hearted slice-of-life shenanigans. Fans of kick-ass fantasy action, however, will be a tad disappointed, as the whole half-yokai element falls completely to the wayside in favor of the more conventional stuff. Until next time, I am your cheerful torturer, the Anti-Viewer!